Besides that, these attackers were hanging out outside his apartment skyrise at 2 a.m.
negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit
temperature with a noose
blues and a bottle of bleach.
Remember,
Hi, I'm Derek van Schaik. There's nothing funnier than the possibility that federal hate crimes have been committed. There's nothing funnier than a rope around a black man's neck. It's December 14th, 2021, and today I'm going to give my views on the video, All the Proof You Need, Jussie Smollett. It should be All the Proof You Need That Jussie Smollett Staged His Attack. All the Proof You Need, Jussie Smollett Staged His Attack. Body Language Secrets by Derek van Schaik. Derek van Schaik is a self-anointed body language analysis expert on YouTube who talks like a clown. He talks like John Wayne Gacy Jr. and just makes fun of people and analyzes their body language instead of looking at, I don't know, the physical evidence of the case or checking the physical evidence against the testimony.
Started tussling, it was very icy. And we ended up tussling by the stairs, fighting. There was a second person involved.
The staged attack was to take place near the stairs on the southwest corner of New and North Water Streets.
Who was kicking me in my back.
these two bodybuilders were his attackers. If he was attacked by two guys this size, he would have many broken bones and his face wouldn't look the same.
Unless they intended to not hurt him or not kill him, so they could extort more money out of him in their racketeering operation to get him buff and then make him need more physical therapy and exercise and more nutrition regimen that he was paying for with the $3,500 check. They were trying to get more business out of Jussie Smollett. Why would they kill him or rough him up too badly that he wouldn't be able to pay them anymore? They had no intention to hurt him very badly, and they didn't want his food.
And,
Notice the pause. People who lie will pause more often because they're trying to weave the lie part of what they're saying in with the known truth.
then it
Or he's trying to figure out what would be relevant to say.
just stopped.
He said that the fight just stopped. And apparently, Derek van Schaik here thinks that it is impossible for a fight to stop or just stop. I mean, a fight has to stop at some point. And we know that the fight stopped because we've seen Jussie Smollett in court and he hasn't been getting his ass beat constantly by the Osundara brothers. So at some point, we have to conclude that at some point the fight stopped. Maybe it stopped abruptly. Maybe it stopped gradually. According to Jussie Smollett, it stopped gradually. So it can only be one of those things. That's what he says happens. I wasn't there.
It's a miracle! They just randomly stopped beating on Jussie. Not because the police arrived or a good Samaritan came.
So you notice what he's saying? He's mocking the idea that the fight could just stop suddenly, but he's not dismantling the idea that the fight happened in the first place, which is what CBS Chicago reported that the jury believes happened, that the fight happened.
Came over to scare them off. They were just like, okay, well, that's enough. Let's go home. They didn't take his wallet, his cell phone, or even his Subway salad.
There'd be no reason to take his food. They would have no reason to take his phone. Why would they take his money when they can just extort him for more money? If they could pose as white guys and get away with attacking him, and were hoping that he wouldn't figure out it was them. So they were thinking he would talk to them later and that he would pay up that money to his attackers. They were trying to extort him for money. Racketeering.
They ran off, and I saw where they ran. And the phone was in my pocket, but it had fallen out, and it was sitting there, and my manager was still on the phone.
And supposedly this is impossible, some people say.
So I picked up the phone, and I said, Brandon, and he's like, what's going on? And I said, I was just jumped.
With all that
Listen to this Derek van Schaik guy, this self-anointed body language analysis expert on YouTube. Listen to him just make fun of this and just dismantle this whole thing for no reason, when he has no logical reason to doubt it, and plant in your mind that there's an inconsistency where there is none. Watch him.
supposed verbal assault and the sounds of real fighting between three men, Brandon just says, what's going on? That doesn't make any sense.
It's probably just his first reaction. What's going on? Because he didn't know what was going on. because he had called Jussie Smollett and the phone dropped out of Jussie Smollett's pocket, which I don't know how that's impossible. People are asking me, exactly at what point did he put the phone into his pocket? How could the phone fallen out of his pocket if he was talking to his manager at the time? I don't know. He probably noticed that people were approaching him, and since it was 20 degrees out, his hand was cold. He also wanted to protect his phone in case he got jumped, which he probably noticed was about to happen since some stranger was yelling at him and coming towards him. He probably put the phone into his pocket as the guy started heading towards him. Is that impossible? No. Does that answer your question? Yes.
I'm sure if there was all that yelling and real physical fighting, Brandon would have heard it through the phone. A normal response would be, "Are you okay?"
He might have heard it through the phone, unless it was muffled because of Jussie Smollett's pocket, and if he had heard something, he would have just heard something which he couldn't identify. It was probably a bunch of noise and the sound of a phone falling on the ground. Why would we think that he would be able to tell exactly what's going on? Why wouldn't he ask what's going on? Why wouldn't what's going on be the first thing that he asks? He didn't know what was going on. Why would he immediately offer to call the police? Listen to what Derek van Schaik is saying.
Do you need help? Should I call the police?
So this guy should have just figured out what was going on immediately and immediately known that Jussie Smollett needed the police to help him. So Derek van Schaik thinks that the fact that Jussie Smollett's manager, Brandon's not a psychic, that means that Jussie Smollett must be guilty. Sure.
And then I look down and I see that there's a rope around my neck.
It's not very possible for someone to slip a noose over your neck and not know it.
Unless they were trying to kick your ass while it was happening.
Any kind of description of the attack?
I gave a body description, and because I saw this, right here or whatever, but I can't tell you what color their eyes were.
And he says this because he could only see in around their eyes because they were wearing wool ski masks with eye holes, which there's video of them purchasing. Allegedly with Jussie Smollett's money, but no one has proven that as far as I'm concerned.
I can't tell you, and I did not see anything except the second person I saw running away. And the first person, I saw his stature.
So he's saying he saw the first person from the front and the second person from the back as the second person was running away. He saw the first person when the person was approaching him and attacking him.
Gave the description as best as I could. You have to understand also that it's Chicago in winter. People can wear ski masks and nobody's going to question that.
Did you notice how Jussie diverted? He was asked about his attacker's appearance, but then starts talking about how wearing masks in the winter isn't abnormal.
That's not irrelevant. He's still staying on the topic of what the attackers look like. He's explaining why the masks wouldn't have seemed unusual if someone else had seen them outside. Typically when it's not snowing outside and you wear a black ski mask and you walk around in public, you look like you're about to rob someplace or somebody. But in Chicago, when it's 20 degrees below zero, people wear ski masks all the time. Not all the time, but it happens. And indeed, they were seen purchasing them at the store.
He doesn't want to talk about the way his attackers look because that's dangerous territory for...
He was just talking about the way his attackers look. He's explaining why them wearing black ski masks would be feasible and believable and true.
For him, he knows that the police already have some security footage of his attackers, and he doesn't know how much information the police have now or how much they will have in the future.
He's just speculating. He's making up reasons why Jussie Smollett might lie. He's not giving proof that he did lie.
The police have gone through a lot of video, and they were able to capture an image of two people of interest.
Oh, look, two people walking around in 20 degree below weather at 2 a.m. in Chicago. It is possible. I had heard that it was impossible.
Have you seen that image?
If they were out, maybe it was humanly possible for Jussie Smollett to be out in that weather without immediately shattering into 1,000 pieces of crystal ice.
And do you believe that they could possibly be the attackers?
I do.
What is it?
Oh, that's weird. He thinks that those guys attacked him. Weird. I think so too.
What is it about their size, or what? Why do you feel that they could possibly be?
Because I was there.
again diverting from talking about any specific features of his attackers.
She didn't specifically ask him about the attacker's appearance. She had just covered that the moment prior to this. She didn't need to ask any more about the details. She was asking, how did you feel when the video came out that showed these two guys in the area at the time? He had already answered the question about the physical description, which you can...
Even implies that it's stupid to ask him questions like that, hoping she'll stop asking.
Now let's watch him. Watch him. It might take a minute or two. Let's watch him allegedly imply that it was stupid for her to ask that question.
Asking him questions about his attackers.
During Smollett's interview on ABC's Good Morning America, he identified the people shown in the still of that surveillance video as his attackers. Also during that interview, Smollett indicated he was positive these were his attackers. The two men in this video are in fact the Osendero brothers.
Well, that's because he originally thought that they were white. It turns out that he was mistaken. Turns out that it was these Osendero brothers, Nigerian immigrants from Africa, who, I believe, were posing as white guys. So during the attack, he thought they were white. Later, he found out they were black and that they were his trainers. That's what I think. That's what Jussie Smollett thinks, I believe.
When that was released, I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere.
Oh, look, he implied that she was stupid for asking the question. Did you catch that? Oh, maybe you didn't catch it because it didn't fucking happen. Derek van Schaik is lying about Jussie Smollett for no reason. He's not even providing proof in the interview of the things that Derek van Schaik says is happening in the interview. He never acted rudely towards her or implied that she was stupid for asking the question. He's just answering the questions calmly. I don't get how he can think that Jussie Smollett's being rude to her. At the same time, he thinks this is a softball. Probably he thinks it's a stage interview. It doesn't make sense. Pick one.
I don't have any doubt in my mind that that's them.
Did you notice that pause?
Did you notice that pause? Did you notice the pauses that Derek van Schaik is leaving in between his fucking bullshit lies and propaganda to let Jussie Smollett tell his story, which is probably absolutely true?
Indicates one of two things. He either doubts that's them, which probably isn't the case, or
this and doubt and probably and speculation.
Why did you hesitate to want to call the police?
So I think he hesitated to call the police because he didn't want the police to come over and make a bunch of noise in his building, and it was 2 a.m. He didn't want the police to wake his neighbors up.
You know,
it's actually likely getting the police involved was never part of the plan.
So here's 2 things here. Where's the wince? I didn't see Jussie Smollett wince. I saw him smile. Fun fact, people who can't detect emotion are called psychopaths.
He probably knows once the police get involved and file a police report, it becomes illegal.
Wasn't the whole point of this, if you believe the idea that Jussie Smollett staged this whole attack, wasn't the whole idea to get the cops involved and, get it on film, which he somehow failed to do, if you believe the story? There's no video of it. So people are saying, the same people that are saying he's friends with Kamala Harris, who's, one of the nation's top prosecutors, now is vice president. You're saying he's friends with cops and politicians like Kamala Harris, but he regrets getting the police involved. Okay, sure. Explain in the comments if you can explain.
Jussie probably didn't want real detectives looking into his little fake attack. He was probably hoping the media and most people wouldn't question him and just feel sorry for him and believe that he was this tough guy fighter.
There's a level of pride there. We live in a society where...
Tears up again.
So he's about to speculate as to why Jussie Smollett is crying or tearing up. He's saying that they're fake tears because the implication is that he's an actor, he can fake crying on cue, and that's what he's doing right now.
And so he can appear more authentic and appears to use how he feels people think he's weak.
Then he feels out, appears out, it doesn't even make sense what he's saying. It's just nonsense. He's sad because he's reliving a traumatic incident and he's trying to fight back tears, okay? There's no faking of emotion going on except Derek van Schaik fucking making everything into a joke with his clown voice.
get tears to come out. For whatever reason in his past, he seems very insecure about his physical toughness and strength.
Now watch, he's about to explain what it is about his past that makes him feel insecure.
As a gay man, you were considered somehow to be weak, and I'm not weak.
I'm the gay Tupac.
I am not weak.
I'm the gay Tupac.
It's intercutting it with clips that are supposed to make him look stupid. That's all he's doing.
And we are, as a people, are not weak.
At the key moment where you could connect with Jussie Smollett, trying to feel strong through weakness, and after getting beaten up, he intercuts it with the most humiliating footage possible. He's ridiculing this man. This is not...
And I was like, there's bleach on me too.
There was a change in the plan in that bleach was going to be used instead of gasoline.
And they found bleach in the Osundara brothers' house. They didn't find gasoline. It wasn't on the list of evidence, which has been so well publicized. You have to really look for that list of evidence the police found in the Osundara brothers' apartment. Gasoline wasn't on it. So this woman, probably a prosecutor, saying that the plan changed from gasoline to bleach without supplying any evidence of that. Well, you would think maybe they would have bought gasoline first. I mean, she's not giving any evidence of that. She just said it, and we have to trust it because she works for the government.
So when the police came,
Sounded like a real sniffle. Just saying, my opinion. Sounded real.
I kept the clothes on. I kept the rope.
So you had the rope on the entire time?
To preserve the evidence for the police.
It wasn't like wrapped around, but yeah.
Yeah, why would he continue to choke himself? He never said that the rope was ever pulled tightly around his neck or that he was struggling for breath. He never said anything like that. He was trying to get away while they were trying to put a rope over his head. If the attack happened, as I and he seem to think, then he would have struggled, and they probably would have only been able to get the rope on his neck and then ran away. Like, they probably wouldn't have had time or the ability to stay put long enough while they were trying to cover his eyes from being able to see them. Like, there's no guarantee that they would have been able to put the rope all the way on. There's no guarantee that they would have pulled it tightly. I'm surprised no one's even talking about the rope.
It was around because I wanted them to see. I wanted them to see what this was.
The actor in him surely wanted to show off the drama of wearing a rope around his neck.
Speculation.
Someone would normally feel so belittled with a rope violently put around their neck. Typically, after an attack, people want to remove what they were wearing and shower because the physical violation makes them feel like they're dirty.
He wasn't raped by the Osundara brothers, dipshit. He was attacked. He kept his clothes on, first because it was 2 in the morning and cold as fuck outside. Why would he take all of his clothes off after the attack? Why would he compromise the evidence when the police were on their way?
Not Jussie. He didn't even take off the rope.
I told them what happened, everything.
Well, it's not a big deal that he didn't take off the rope. It was loosened around his neck. It wasn't pulled tightly, or at least he never said it was pulled tightly, so we can only infer that it wasn't pulled tightly because he's still alive.
You know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You're going to Subway.
Did you hear him sniffle? Those are real tears he's crying. He's randomly sniffling in the middle of her questions. Those are real.
Subway is open 24 hours. Like, people kill me when they say things like that because it's like Subway is open 24 hours for a reason.
That's a perfectly valid explanation.
So that
it explains why he got the food. We don't know if it was a sandwich or a salad. There's conflicting reports. It doesn't really matter in my opinion. That's how he knew that Subway was open. That's how he knew that Subway was around. He had probably been to that Subway before because it was like a block away from the Walgreens that he was going to that turned out to be closed, and it was a block away from his apartment, okay?
When you hungry at night and you ain't got no food, you go to Subway.
And that's what he said happened. He said he was out of food. I think he had just returned home from a business trip, possibly from LA. I believe I've read in other articles and videos that he's said that he didn't have any food, so he needed to go out for food. Jake's about to say there was room service in his swanky apartment building. Yeah, well, maybe the kitchen closes at 1 a.m. Maybe it closes at midnight. You don't know. Neither do I. Find out. Find out. Email me.
The camera facing north. How is that my issue?
Going to say
Valid question. How is it Jussie Smollett's issue? How is it his fault that the camera happened to be facing north, away from the direction of the scuffle, fight, attack, whatever you want to call it? How's that his fault? And then people say, oh, Jussie Smollett wanted it to record. Well, that doesn't mean he staged it. If he wanted it to record and he's so powerful, then it would have recorded. So does that make sense? Where's the video? If he planned it, then he would have planned it well and we would have gotten video. I believe that the reason he wishes video would have come out when it didn't is because he'd appreciate some more evidence in this case, as we all would. And a few minutes prior to this in the video, he explains that he was glad when, like he said, well, that makes sense, when the video came out showing the two guys walking in the area and it turned out to be the Osundara brothers. He said that makes sense. He was happy when additional evidence came out, which supported his side of the story. Now, people like Derek van Schaik will say that it doesn't support his side of the story because he said he saw two white men. No, he initially thought they were white. He thought they were white. He didn't say he was 100% sure they were white. I think it was two black guys posing as two white guys. Is that so crazy? No.
at 2 a.m. in the dead of winter is a little weird, especially since he has room service in his fancy skyride.
The next 2 days were even colder. You know?
They would need him to walk out, not leave his skyrise in a limo, a ride share.
Why would he leave his skyrise in a limo? It was 2 in the morning. It's 2 blocks away. Why would you hire a limo for a 2-block walk when it's icy outside?
In his car or a friend's car. He would have to leave on foot for them to attack him. But in his story, those attackers clearly were...
But in his story... You hear the laughter? This motherfucker's saying, oh, do you hear Jussie Smollett paused? Did you hear Derek van Schaik laugh his ass off instead of construct a logical argument that's not based on emotion?
Burn outside his building when he left, because if they were, he would have been attacked.
He's saying Jussie Smollett would have been attacked if the Osundara brothers were outside his building. Maybe they got there late. Maybe they got there halfway through Jussie Smollett's walking trip. That was 4 blocks tops.
Story, those attackers clearly weren't outside his building when he left, because if they were, he would have been attacked when he left.
The Osundara brothers are not automatic shooting machines that shoot as soon as they see Jussie Smollett outside. Maybe they got there late. Have you ever heard of human will or decisions? The Osundara brothers have one. They have a will. They could have chosen to delay the attack until Jussie Smollett got back. Maybe they were there the whole time. Maybe they saw him go to Subway and Walgreens, or Walgreens then Subway, and maybe they saw him at one or more of these places, and they started tracking him, started following him, started looking at him from a block away or wherever they were. Maybe they holed up outside across to the street from his house. Maybe they were watching him. Maybe they noticed he was outside after he left his house. Why would you attack a guy on his front doorstep? His neighbors would see. They waited until, at least what I think now, just off the top of my head. You know, how would I get to make stuff up off the top of my head sometimes? Like Derek van Schaik here. What if him come out of his apartment, watched him go to Walgreens, saw him go to Subway, or they just arrived on the scene and were trying to look for him near his house, and it turned out he was a block or 2 away from his house. So you go there, you find him, and you go jump him. What's impossible about that? I don't get it.
So it feels like if I had said it was a Muslim or Mexican or someone black, I feel like the doubters would have supported me a lot more.
Jussie slipped up there. Did you catch it? Watch again.
It feels like if I had said...
Yes, he said, if I had said. He's referring back to what he had said, which is the lie.
He's not referring to the lie. He's referring to his testimony. He's referring to his description of his attackers. He's talking about what he had said earlier about his description, about the description of his attackers.
If he was thinking back to what actually happened, he would have said, if they were non-white.
Oh, well, why don't you just tell a black man what words to say like he doesn't fucking speak English? Why don't you just tell him what to say? You know what? Why don't you just grab hold of his fucking teeth and his lips and his gums and move them for him? He's speculating all kinds of shit like, if this had happened, then he would have said exactly this series of words. But he didn't say this exact series of words, so he must be guilty.
But it makes sense why he subconsciously referred back to what he said and
subconsciously, you're speculating about what's going on inside a man's mind. Subconscious, shut the fuck up.
not what happened. Because
he doesn't know what happened. There's a reason he's not talking about what happened, because he doesn't know what happened. There's a reason why he's talking about what he has said about his description of his attackers. It's because the description of his attackers, the appearance of his attackers, is confusing as fuck to everybody who looks at this case, even him.
I had said,
yes, he said, if I had said. He's referring back to what he had said, which is the lie. If he was thinking back to what actually happened, he would have said, if they were non-white.
They were non-white. It was the fucking Osundairo brothers. He's talking about the description. He's talking about what he remembers about their appearance. Because it was two black guys who posed as white guys. They disguised themselves. You know what a disguise is? They change their appearance to avoid detection and arrest. Because they don't want to go to jail. Because no one wants to go to jail. Criminals, attackers, typically want to get away with the crime. So they pose as other people. Black guys pose as white guys in this example, so that the cops wouldn't arrest them, okay? Plenty of sense.
The attackers are never found. How will you be able to heal?
I don't know. Let's just hope that they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not go there yet.
Notice how it took him a few seconds to think of what to say? He's gonna do it again. It's not unusual. He repeated it.
I was talking to a friend that...
Those tears look pretty real to me. Sniffles sound pretty real to me. Doesn't sound like fake actor tears.
I said, I just want them to find them. And she said, sweetie, they're not gonna find them. That just made me so angry because... So I'm just gonna be...
Oh, you see, he's talking about being angry, but he's crying. Does that make sense? Guilty.
left here with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just gonna be left here with...
Oh, he's pausing. Guilty.
With, like...
Jussie seems...
You notice he just paused 5 seconds ago? Because it's a difficult thing to talk about. Watch this clown make something out of nothing.
not to know what to say in the midst of all that emotion. Someone would normally just speak those strong emotions, but...
I'm sorry. I had no idea that strong emotions made it easier for you to express yourself verbally.
when you're manufacturing emotions,
Manufacturing emotions?
using a separate topic, speaking becomes much harder. He would also be trying to figure out what...
Can you stop using the word would? You're speculating. Whenever you use the word would, you're speculating. Well, if he did this, then he would do that. Prove it. Prove anything you're saying involving the word would.
to say that's not only believable, but will also convince the naysayers to his side.
Why is he trying to convince people to agree with it? Maybe because anyone who was attacked would want people to agree with him.
That's a tall order, even for a professional actor.
So they get to go free and go about their life and
Tears look pretty real.
possibly attack someone else. And I'm here to left with the aftermath of this bull.
Yeah, that's what happens after they don't catch your attacker. You're worried that they're going to attack someone else. This is perfectly normal if the attack happened. Perfectly normal reaction if what he's saying is true.
That's not cool to me. That's not okay. So I understand how difficult it will be to find them.
The way that they carried this out, there was never a thought in their mind that we would be able to track them down.
Who's they? The Osundairo brothers? Huh.
Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson said, there was never any thought in their mind that we would track them down. He used the word they, which suggests he's not talking about one person, Jussie Smollett. He's talking about two people or more, probably the Osundaira brothers. He's probably saying that there was never any thought in the Osundaira brothers' mind that we would catch them. Or he was just referring to the attackers. I don't know when that was filmed. Maybe it was filmed before they identified the Osundaira brothers. But he wasn't talking about one person. So if he wasn't talking about Jussie Smollett, and he thinks Jussie Smollett staged the attack, then why would he say there was never any thought in their mind that we would catch them? He was talking about greater than one person, the Osundaira brothers. Eddie Johnson knows that Jussie Smollett did not do this. He slipped.
They carried this out. There was never a thought in their mind that we would be able to track them down.
And I'll leave you with this.
My concern is that hate crimes would now publicly be met with a level of skepticism that previously didn't happen.
Now no one's going to ever believe any hate crime when it happens in the future, including to you, African-American police officer Eddie Johnson, and your family. Congratulations, you played yourself.